The first sin was believing we would never die. The second sin was believing we were alive in the first place. When a woman disappears, how is she remembered? By her beautiful smile, her pretty face, the drugs in her system, or by the Johns who all have dope breath and graceless desires? In Chillicothe, Ohio, there's the familiar quarrel. The same quarrel that is known through once pastoral fields where industry was made, and generations were supported by grandfathers and fathers working in the paper mill until they came home at night to become the captains of the dinner table, while our mothers were women of immortal hands who picked up our dropped prayers and answered them. But it was all a myth. These gods in ordinary folk. No more real than the heroes of ancient Greece. Chillicothe, Ohio, it turned out, was full of mortals. The land had once been called Chillicothe by the indigenous tribes who had lived there for thousands of years before European settlers came to steal it and rename it something the white tongue could own: Chillicothe. In their white ways, they industrialized the land. Chillicothe rose in building and pitched roof, competing with the surrounding hills. In her newfound kingdom, she had been the first capital of Ohio, before that, too, was taken away. Remnants were found in the presence of a couple of department stores, the aisles married to the turning wheel of shopping carts and Sunday coupons. Beneath the harsh breath of development and asphalt, there existed the rounded tops of the trees blowing in the wind, and the traces of those who had come centuries before. Home to what had been the rich culture of the first peoples, Chillicothe was a primal place of geometric earthworks and burial mounds, ripe with fossilized shark teeth, obsidian, and shells from the faraway ocean. The earthworks were magic to someone like me. As a child, I would dig beneath the seething beetles and below the earthworms, into the deep, cool, and native soil, hoping to uncover the buried trace of the beautiful and the hidden. Some folks look at a place by how it is. I like to look at a place by how it would be discovered in the future. What artifacts would Chillicothe, Ohio, leave in the dark ground if it were lost to time? There would be leather straps from the purses of the women who visited the cosmetic counters every Easter sale, plastic straws from the never-ending selection of fast food joints, camo jackets from the predators, feathers from the nests of the prey. There would be old Tecumseh brochures, family photos from fabric-covered albums, earmarked pages from the Bible, and used needles to remind us we were not perfect. Most of all, there would be layers of fury, of beauty, of the hours that shrivel like dry grass. On top of that, as the crowning deposit, there would be the sawdust from the paper mill. Maybe there would even be the smell, mixed into the soil, hardened with the rocks, renewed with each inhale. Locals called the odor coming from the paper mill the smell of money. But for the ones who were not born and raised in Chillicothe, they held their noses and said, "Damn, this town stinks." There our entire lives, my sister Daffy and me figured it was what the whole world smelled like. A mixture of rotten eggs, hot garbage, and the toxic fumes that wood makes when it is forced to become paper. This odor would spew from the red and white striped stacks, up into the sky, choking the birds. It would fall back down like a blanket upon us and cling to our clothes, hair, and homes. It was in the shadow of the paper mill that Daffy and me lived with our mother Adeline and her sister Clover in the part of town not visible when looking down Main Street, with its brick and concrete, the works of old men. We lived on the south side, where slum landlords rented out small cinder block houses. Ours was painted a brown that Daffy said was the color of watered-down Pepsi-Cola. I thought it was the color of sand from the riverbank, left to dry on the bottoms of our feet and get dusty in the light.